US President Donald Trump has claimed that tariffs on India for buying Russian oil have delivered a big blow to Moscow's economy. In his latest remarks ahead of the meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which is going to happen in Alaska on Friday, President Trump called New Delhi one of Russia's largest or second largest buyers of oil.
Don't even start with the usual trade war rhetoric. Hey, lean in. Imagine 2 million Indian hands, skilled in crafting brilliance, suddenly facing a wall, a 50% tariff wall. Yeah, you heard that. Half the value, just gone. What happens when crafting your future is taxed out of reach? And guess what? Canada's quietly rewriting its playbook while all eyes are on the chaos. So here's the deal. US President Trump hit India's gems and jewelry exports with a brutal extra 25% tariff on August 6, 2025, stacking on the earlier 25%, bringing the total to 50% for many key sectors. This wasn't just politics, it's economics in its rawest form, and India's diamond artisans are bearing the blow. This matter unfolds now, August 2025, and spans from the polishing tables of Gujarat and Surat to boardrooms in Canada and into US policymaking. India's diamond hubs, particularly Surat, and seep seas in Mumbai, which alone account for tens of thousands of jobs, are on the brink. They fear collapse, rerouting, abandonment of centuries-old traditions. Let me walk you through what happened. It began when, on August 6, 2025, Trump invoked an executive order, an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods, citing their continued import of Russian oil. That pushed certain sectors to a crushing 50% levy. Experts warn this will sap India's competitiveness and could slice off 0.3 to 0.5% of GDP in the coming year.
Turning to trade now, and Donald Trump has doubled tariffs on Indian products to 50%. He says New Delhi's business dealings with Moscow are helping fund the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. But India accuses the US and Europe of themselves importing Russian goods while punishing India.
Millions of jobs in India's garment industry are at risk. US tariffs on Indian exports are now among the highest worldwide. Its key industries are vulnerable. In deals with Washington, duties on India's neighbors have been mostly slashed.
Indian jewelry businesses reacted in alarm. One industry leader called it doomsday. The U.S. accounts for nearly $10 billion of gem and jewelry exports, 30% of India's total. Centers like Seep Seas export 80 to 85% of their output to the U.S. Thousands of artisan jobs hang in the balance. Currency pressures mount, and global supply chains wobble. They're now looking to relocate production to low-tariff hubs, UAE, Mexico, even Canada as a lifeline. Meanwhile, gem certification experts say there may be a silver lining. HRD Antwerp, a major international certification authority, just opened an office in Kolkata and thinks the tariffs might be short-lived. They suggest Indian exporters could redirect shipments to Europe or the Middle East to stay afloat, especially as diamond certification in India is booming, pushing up transparency and appeal elsewhere. So, why did this even happen? Trump's move is wedged in wider geopolitics. He's pointing at India's oil ties with Russia, escalating pressure while broader trade negotiations flounder. Indian leaders may be forced to rethink energy sourcing or fast-track diplomacy to cool down these tariffs. Meanwhile, the U.S.'s symbolic heavy-handedness sends a clear message: trade threats loom large unless priorities change. Now here's where Canada enters the frame, quietly but decisively. While the world watches the diamond crisis and America's own shock at how badly the tariff might rebound, Canada is recalibrating. It's splashing over $6 billion into helping exporters pivot, diversify markets, stay liquid, and keep people employed. Prime Minister Mark Carney has even called these U.S. tariffs unlawful and is fast-tracking infrastructure projects to buffer the hit, shore up domestic strength, and boost resilience. But that's not all. Canada is also doubling down on diplomacy. It has dispatched key trade ministers to Mexico City to build stronger economic ties, focusing on energy investments and deeper integration. This is part of a broader strategy: reduce reliance on the U.S., strengthen North American alternatives, maybe give USMCA a facelift.
Tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the President of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy.
So what's the fallout? For India, massive risk of job losses, trade rerouting, supply chain shocks, maybe long-term shifts if alternatives take hold. For the U.S., unintended blowback, global criticism, destabilized trade lines. For Canada, an opportunity to turn disruption into strategic resilience, funding, partnerships, even infrastructure to outlast trade turbulence. Want more depth? Some quick, intriguing side notes. Indian exporters could tap rising certification demand and move volumes to markets less hostile to their exports. Canada's billion-dollar push to upgrade infrastructure and diversify trade channels may redefine its economy's North American orientation for years. What's happening right now, mid-August 2025, is high-stakes brinksmanship. India must weigh diplomatic, energy, and trade shifts. Canada is building a cushion, and maybe a new foundation. The US sits watching, perhaps surprised at the chain reaction unleashed by one executive order. So here's what I want you to think about. In a world tangled by tariffs, global chains, politics, who holds the cards? Can global trade withstand shockwaves like a 50% tariff, or will nimble strategy bend the damage? Let me wrap this with a thought. Even icons of craft, a diamond polished for decades, can be sidelined by policy, not just markets. And smaller neighbors like Canada can quietly turn the tables with the right moves. Thanks for watching. What do you think will happen next in India's gem sector, or Canada's new trade playbook? Tell me in the comments, subscribe if you want more deep dives, and what's the next domino in this global trade puzzle?